Welcome in the session of refrigeration and air conditioning. In this presentation, we are going to see the details of refrigerants, which are the working substances used in refrigeration and HVAC cycles. So, what is a refrigerant? Refrigerant is a medium or fluid used for transferring heat in the refrigeration system that absorbs heat during the evaporation process and from the region of low temperature and pressure and releases this heat during the condensation process at the region of higher temperature and pressure. So basically it is the working substance which takes up the heat from the lower temperature reservoir and delivers it to higher temperature and pressure reservoir using the external work, which is the compressor, which is used in refrigeration system. The natural ice and mixture of ice and salt were first refrigerants. In 1834, ether, ammonia, sulfur dioxide, methyl chloride and carbon dioxide come into use as refrigerants in compression cycle refrigeration machines. Most of the early refrigeration materials like ice and sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide have been discarded for safety reasons, for their toxicity, or just for the lack of required chemical and thermal stability. In present days, there are many new refrigerants including halocarbons, that is RCFCs, or hydrogen carbon compounds are used for air conditioning and refrigeration applications. The suitability of a refrigerant for certain application is determined by its physical, thermodynamic and chemical properties and by various practical factors including the order for the detection of the leakages and its toxicity, its effect on perishable materials, etc. So there is no one refrigerant which satisfies all the requirement of a particular working system. So there is no ideal refrigerant. But still we can define the required properties of an ideal refrigerant or a suitable refrigerant. Let's see them. So desirable properties of an ideal refrigerant include low boiling and freezing point, so the cycle will not stop, high critical pressure and temperature, high latent heat of vaporization, low specific heat of liquid and high specific heat of vapor, low specific volume of vapor, high thermal conductivity, non-corrosive to metal because it is supposed to flow inside the metal tubes. It should be the standard comparison of refrigerant used in refrigeration industry and all these properties is always done on an ideal refrigeration condition, that is between evaporating temperature of minus 15 degrees centigrade to 30 degrees centigrade. So we are seeing these properties for that only. The other properties which include non-flammable, non-explosive and non-toxic substance. It should have a low cost and it should be easily and regularly available for the domestic and industrial use. It should be easy to liquefy at moderate pressure and temperatures because the refrigeration cycle includes both liquefaction and evaporation processes. It should be easy to locate the leaks by odor or suitable indicator of the refrigerant. It should mix well with an oil so that the compression process is smooth and the equipments can be easily lubricated. It should have high coefficient of performance and importantly it should be ozone friendly, so it should not adversely affect the ozone layer around the earth. All these properties and comparison is done as minus 15 degrees centigrade evaporation temperature to the 30 degrees centigrade condensation temperature. Now in this presentation we are going to learn about refrigerants with the help of some particular points. They are the classification of refrigerants, then their designation, then their required properties and the chemical, physical and thermodynamic properties, the environmental issues which is the recent concern, which is caused by CFCs and other refrigerants, and the substitute used for the refrigerant which causes such environmental issues. So let us move on to the classification. So refrigerants are classified into two parts. The namely first is primary and the other is secondary. Primary refrigerants are further classified. They include halocarbon, that is halogen derivatives of carbon compounds. Then azeotropes, they are mixtures of different refrigerant in particular ratio. Then there are inorganic refrigerants which does not have carbon into it necessarily, and then there are hydrocarbons which are purely carbon chains linked with hydrogen atoms. Then the secondary refrigerant, they include brines and antifreeze solutions. We will see the primary refrigerants in more details. These are refrigerant which cools the substance or space directly by absorbing the latent heat. So their tubes or the evaporator tubes containing primary refrigerants are directly in contact with the space which is need to be cooled or substances which are supposed to be cooled by the refrigeration system. This primary refrigerant absorbs heat during evaporation in the evaporator and releases the heat during condensation. It is also known as direct expansion system. For example, freons, ammonia, SO2 and carbon dioxide. These are used as primary refrigerants. Primary refrigerants fluids provide refrigeration by undergoing a phase change process in the evaporator. So the low temperature, low pressure liquid of this refrigerant in the evaporator absorbs heat from the surrounding and uses it as a latent heat and converts into the vapor format, thus causing the cooling of the surrounding. So further, primary refrigerants are classified as halocarbons refrigerants. They are fluorocarbons of methane and ethane series. These are non-toxic, non-flammable, non-explosive, non-corrosive and non-irritant to human bodies and eyes. So the examples are CFCs, that is chlorofluorocarbons, HCFCs, that is hydrochlorofluorocarbon, HFCs, that is hydrofluorocarbons, and but in this the compounds which contain chlorine, they are tending to react with the ozone layer. Then the azeotropes refrigerants. They are a mixture of different refrigerants which cannot be separated under the pressure and have fixed thermodynamic properties. So the thermodynamic properties of the mixture of the refrigerants may be different from the both of the constituent of the mixture, but they are stable under the pressure. The examples of are I500, I502, R503. Then the zeotropic mixture. Their composition in liquid phase differs to that in vapor phase. These are also the mixtures of refrigerants. The examples are R404A, 407A, 410A and 431A. Then the hydrocarbon refrigerants. These contain purely carbon and hydrogen atoms linked to them. Pure hydrocarbon without any foreign branch in carbon chain. The examples are R170, 290, 600 and 600A. Lastly, inorganic refrigerants. These are made up of inorganic compound. They were used before the halocarbons and some of them are still in use. The examples are ammonia, air refrigeration, carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide. Now for the secondary refrigerants. These are cooling medium which absorbs heat from the refrigerated space and transfers to the primary refrigerant in the evaporator. So it acts as an intermediary between the actual refrigeration space and primary refrigerant in the evaporator. They do not change their physical condition, so they remain liquid most of the times. They are known as brines or antifreeze solutions. Brine is solution of salt in water, because it may be noted that when the salt is mixed with water, then the freezing temperature of solution becomes lower than that of water. So we can use this to freeze the things below the freezing point of water, that is 0 degrees Celsius. Brine is used as intermediate fluid between evaporator and substance or space to be cooled. It cools the substance and space by absorbing their sensible heat. So this is an indirect expansion system. As for the designation of refrigerant, designation is a unique naming system of the refrigerant. We will see the designation system for halocarbons and hydrocarbon refrigerants. So the name of the refrigerant internationally always starts with an R followed by a unique number. If a refrigerant name is followed by 2-digit number, it indicates that refrigerant is derived from the methane base. If it starts from the 3-digit, then it shows that it is derived from the ethane base. The chemical formula for the refrigerants, either methane or ethane base, is given as CmHnClPf small q, in which the rule to follow is addition of n plus p plus q is equals to twice of m plus 2, where m indicates the number of carbon atoms, n indicates the number of hydrogen atoms, p is number of chlorine atoms, and q is number of fluorine atoms. So this formula basically derives from the completing vacancy of or valency of the carbon atoms. Finally, for the designation, the formula becomes R followed by the number m minus 1, that is number of carbon atoms minus 1, then n plus 1, that is number of hydrogen atoms plus 1, and q is the number of fluorine atoms in it. Let us see an example for this. We will see an example of dichloro-difluoromethane. We have these two formulae with us, CmHnClPfQ, where n plus p plus q is equals to 2m plus 2, and the name is given by R followed by m minus 1, n plus 1, and q. So here the chlorine atoms are 2, dichloro indicates that. The fluorine atoms are also 2, difluoro. So p and q both have value 2. Methane has only 4 valencies which are completed here. So there is no need for hydrogen atoms. So they are 0, n is 0. And using the formula, we can easily find the m, which turns out to be 1. So the refrigerant is C1H0, C1H0, which we won't write in the formula, Cl2 and F2. So CCl2, F2 is our refrigerant chemical formula. Now designation is R, n minus 1. So m is 1, 1 minus 1 is 0, then n plus 1 and q. So we get R012. As it is a methane base, this number will always be 0, so it is to be ignored, and the final formula we get is R12. So the name of dichloromethane, that is CCl2F2, the designation for the refrigerant is R12. Now for inorganic refrigerant, the system is slightly different. For inorganic, the name still starts with R, but it is followed by the 700 plus molecular weight of the refrigerant. Let's see an example. For ammonia, that is nitrogen and 3 hydrogens. Nitrogen has a molecular mass of 14 and hydrogen has molecular mass of 1 into 3 for the 3 atoms of hydrogen. So we get 17. So the name of the ammonia in the designation system of refrigerant is 700 plus 17 starting with R, so it is R717. Similarly, the carbon dioxide has a weight of 44, so it will be named as R744. Now we will see the properties of the refrigerants. So properties are again classified into three types: thermodynamic properties, chemical and physical properties. Firstly, in thermodynamic properties, boiling temperature. Boiling temperature of the refrigerant at atmospheric pressure should be low. If the boiling temperature of refrigerant is high at atmospheric pressure, the compressor must be operated in high vacuum. This reduces the capacity of the system. Then the freezing temperature of the refrigerant should be well below the operating evaporator temperature. Since the freezing temperature of the most refrigerants is below minus 35 degrees Celsius, therefore this property is taken into consideration only in very low freezing temperature applications. Then the evaporator and condenser pressures. Both evaporating and condensing pressure should be positive, that is, they should be above atmospheric temperature and they should be as near to atmospheric pressure as possible. The positive pressures are necessary in order to prevent the leakage of the air and moisture into the refrigeration system. If they have high pressure, they will leak out of the refrigeration system. If they have low pressures, then air and moisture will leak inside, because flow is always from the higher pressure to lower pressure. So this positive pressure reduces the leakage. But too high evaporating and condensing pressure would require stronger refrigerating equipment, that is compressor, evaporator and condenser, and this will result in higher initial costs. So they should be nearer to atmosphere but should always be positive. Next part is critical temperature and pressure. The critical temperature of refrigerant is the highest temperature at which it can be condensed to the liquid regardless of the higher pressure. So it will liquefy regardless of the pressure. So this should be well above the highest condensing pressure. If not, it will consume excess power. Then the coefficient of performance and power requirement. Both of these are calculated at ideal refrigeration system operating between minus 15 degrees centigrade evaporator to 30 degrees centigrade condenser and in the reverse Carnot cycle. This ideal reverse Carnot cycle has the efficiency of 5.74 and all the refrigerants are considered for this coefficient of performance, and the power is calculated in kilowatt per TR. So nearer to the COP of the refrigerant to this 5.74, the better is the refrigerant. Then the latent heat of vaporization. A refrigerant should obviously have a high latent heat of vaporization, because that much more heat it can absorb for evaporating inside the evaporator, and that will increase the evaporating effect or in turn the refrigeration effect provided by that particular refrigerant in cooling space. So latent heat of vaporization should be as high as possible. Then the specific volume of refrigerant at evaporator temperature indicates the theoretical displacement of the compressor. The reciprocating compressors are used with refrigerating having high pressures and low volumes at the suction vapor, and centrifugal and turbo compressors are used with refrigerant having low pressures and high volumes at the suction vapor. So specific volume determines the type of the compressor which we are going to use. Now for the chemical properties of the refrigerant. First one is flammability. Obviously it should not be flammable at all, but some of the refrigerants are highly flammable, such as ethane, propane. Ammonia is also somewhat flammable and it can become explosive when mixed with air, where halocarbons are not flammable or explosive when exposed to air. The second property is toxicity. Toxicity of refrigerant may be a prime concern depending upon applications. Some non-toxic refrigerants, when mixed with certain percentage of air, become toxic. So The refrigerants which are prone to toxicity are mostly used in cold storage where they do not come directly in contact with the materials which are to be cooled. Then solubility of water. Water is slightly soluble in R12 and some other refrigerants. This solution of water inside the refrigerant results in formation of ice, and this can cause the damage to the refrigeration system or restriction of flow of refrigerant in the refrigeration system. So to prevent this, we use dryers and dehydration process inside the liquid. Next property is miscibility. The ability of refrigerant to mix with the oil is called as miscibility. It is the desirable property for the smooth operation of the cycle. If the refrigerant mixes well with an oil, then the lubrication is provided easily inside a hermetically sealed compressor and other moving systems in the refrigeration cycle. Lastly, its effect on perishable materials. It is similar to toxicity. Some chemicals affect the perishable material badly. For example, methyl vapor and sulfur dioxide affects the flowers, furs and food adversely. They cause them to rot rapidly. Also, ammonia reacts with the acidic substances in the food. So most of the food is acidic and therefore ammonia is a bad refrigerant to use for food preservation. Then the physical properties. Stability and inertness. An ideal refrigerant should not decompose at any temperature and it should not decompose at the higher pressures. The Freon groups of refrigerants are stable up to the 600 degrees Celsius, and whereas sulfur dioxide is stable up to 1645 degrees Celsius. Then the corrosive property. It must be taken into consideration while selecting the refrigerants. The freons are non-corrosive with practically all metals. Ammonia can only be used with steel and water. Sulfur dioxide is non-corrosive, but when it is mixed with water, it will form sulfuric acid, which is highly corrosive. Then the viscosity. The refrigerant in the liquid and vapor state should have low viscosity, because low viscosity will reduce the speed of the flow and it will improve the heat transfer during the refrigeration cycle, which is our desired effect. Then the thermal conductivity. The refrigerant in a liquid and vapor state should have high thermal conductivity. Dielectric strength. It is an important in hermetically sealed compressor because electrical motor is directly in contact with the refrigerant. Then the leakage tendency. The leakage tendency of any refrigerant should obviously be low, and it should have specific detectable tendencies during the leakage, like particular odor or hissing sound or maybe color. Lastly, cost. It should be as low as possible, but in smaller units like domestic refrigeration it doesn't affect much, but it is important criteria for selection of refrigerant in high capacity units or larger refrigeration systems. Let us see environmental issues related with refrigerant and their emission. Global warming. We are all familiar with it. Refrigerants are directly contributing to global warming when they are released in atmosphere, because they act like a greenhouse gases which trap the sun rays which otherwise will be reflected out of Earth atmosphere inside the atmosphere, and which causes the heating of the Earth's surface. This is a normal and natural process, but excess of CFCs are increasing the percentage of greenhouse gases above the natural level, and therefore the temperature of the Earth's surface is increasing drastically. Indirect contribution to global warming is consumption of electricity from the compressors, and which in turn leads to carbon footprint, that is emission of carbon dioxide in the power stations which produces this electricity. The major and directly related problem with respect to CFCs and refrigerants is an ozone layer depletion. The greatest concentration of ozone is found from 12 km to 50 km above the Earth's surface, forming a layer in stratosphere which is called as ozone layer. And ozone depletion is a steady lowering of about 4% in the total amount of ozone of the Earth atmosphere in the ozone layer, and much larger springtime decrease in the stratospheric ozone around the Earth's polar regions. So, decrease in the concentration of the ozone in the stratosphere is known as ozone layer depletion. What happens is the CFCs, that is chlorofluorocarbons, when they are irradiated with UV rays, when they are emitted out from the refrigeration system and come in contact with the ultraviolet rays emitted by the sun, they generate free chlorine. This free chlorine reacts with ozone and generates ClO and free oxygen, and this oxygen again reacts with the free oxygen which is the part of this reaction and generate chlorine and oxygen. So this ozone molecule, which is O3, is completely decomposed and it just forms normal oxygen. Ozone is used for filtering the UV rays which are harmful to human skin and can be carcinogenic, that is causing cancer. So this hole in the ozone layer heats the earth rapidly and causes many skin problems to the life on the earth. So stratospheric chlorine has different sources. This is the data of 2006. So CFC12, that is R12 and R11 are the most higher sources of chlorine, out of which only the CH3Cl, that is chloromethane, and HCl, that is hydrochloric acid, which are natural sources which are emitted by the animals or oceans. All other sources are man-made in the 2006, and therefore ozone layer got depleted very rapidly and it is a major global concern. We will see important terms related to refrigerant considering these environmental issues. First is ozone depletion potential. According to Montreal Protocol, the ozone depletion potential of refrigerant should be zero, that they should not react with ozone at all. It may be noted that one chlorine atom can destroy 10 raised to 5 ozone molecules. The relative ability of the substance to deplete the ozone layer is called as ozone depletion potential. Refrigerant having non-zero ODP have either already been phased out, these are R11 and R12, or will be phased out in the near future, which is R22. R22 has much lower ozone depletion potential than R11 or R12, but it still affects some. Since ODP depends mainly on the presence of chlorine or bromine in the molecules, the refrigerant having either chlorine and bromine cannot be used under the new regulations in the Montreal Protocol. Next property is global warming potential. The heat absorbed by any greenhouse gas in the atmosphere as a multiple of the heat that would be absorbed by the same mass of carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is taken as base and considered as 1 for the heat absorbed by it, and refrigerants are compared with respect to it. The GWP for R22 is very high, that it is equals to 100. So due to this reason, there is a concern about using R22 any further in the future. It should be low as possible. So there are refrigerants like R134A with zero ozone depletion potential but very high value of global warming potential, which are to be regulated in the near future. Then there is a life cycle climate performance, or in short LCCP. It is an evolving method to evaluate the carbon footprint and global warming impact of heating, ventilation and air conditioning, that is HVAC refrigeration system, and potentially other applications such as thermal insulating foams. So life cycle climate performance does not only include one thing, it includes global warming, it includes carbon dioxide emission, it includes the ozone depletion potential and all the other environmental issue related things. So it is calculated as the sum of direct, indirect and embodied greenhouse gas emissions generated over the lifetime of the systems. That is, it is called as from cradle to grave, that is from the start of the manufacturing from the scratch to the complete disposal of the system. So it is a more inclusive term than the previous matrices such as TEWI. What is the TEWI? It is total equivalent warming index. The factor TEWI considers both direct due to release into atmosphere and indirect through the energy consumption contribution of refrigerant to the global warming. So it only includes direct and indirect emission, but LCCP includes the manufacturing and disposal cost and other impacts also. Naturally, refrigerant with low value of TEWI are preferred and they will be preferred in the near future. So what are the substitutes we are going to use? Montreal Protocol has already resulted in phasing out of R11 and R12 and replaced by R22. But at present there are different substitutes are available. The HCFC refrigerant R123, that is CF3CHCl2 in place of R11. The refrigerant R134A and R152A in the place of R12. Then there is 143A and 125 in the place of R502, which is an azeotropic mixture. The hydrocarbon refrigerant pure propane, that is R290, and isobutane R600A may also be used in the place of R12. Just the problem is they are highly flammable. That's it for the refrigerants. I hope this helps. Thank you.